Another driver I want to talk about in terms of risk, and there were rumours, and I want to talk to you a bit about this, James, as being the Indy head in the room, right? Because Logan Sargent, as much as it was a good qualifying, put it into the wall. Difficult start to his rookie career in Formula One, and there's been a lot of murmurings about his seat potentially being up for grabs, and maybe Alex Palou. First of all, with the Palou angle, just to explain to everyone, because basically Palou did. This is a very broad way of covering it, but Palou did to McLaren what Piastri did to Alpine, kind of.
That's pretty much exactly what happened. So they had an agreement, a verbal agreement that for 2024...
Not wink, wink.
Yeah. For 2024, Alex Palou would be joining the McLaren organisation, because of course they have 3 teams: Formula E, F1 and IndyCar. So he would be under the license of Zach Brown to put him wherever he likes. And so he did that on the knowledge that they hadn't signed Piastri yet, and that seat in Formula One in 2024 or 2025 could easily become his. And he'd slide straight in there. He has a super license as IndyCar champion, and perhaps as of this evening could become a 2-time IndyCar champion. So no worries there. And the fact is that he could, even if he drove a year in Zach Brown's IndyCars, he'd be most likely to go for an F1 seat, because his management team were very clear that he's now dropped them after a second contract mess in 12 months. He's been very... his management were very clear that they were looking to push him towards a Formula One seat. So now he's out of McLaren's, out of the McLaren umbrella. Almost the most likely F1 target seat for him is that Williams, and the driver that's most under threat is Logan Sargent. I mean, he's not strung, as we mentioned in the pre-race build-up before the Dutch Grand Prix, he's not strung together a weekend properly, and even this weekend was exemplary of that. I mean, he showed good pace in the free practice sessions, got into Q3, binned it. Had a bad start after starting 10th, and then ended up in the wall.
17th.
He was 17th after the first lap, exactly, and then ended up in the wall. So for Logan Sargent, he's under a bit of pressure, and add to the fact that James Vowles was clear that he wasn't a James Vowles signing, he was a Jos Capito signing, and they deliberately didn't add him to the Mercedes junior team when he was...
Because they had the opportunity when he was still at Mercedes.
And when he was budgetless, Mercedes didn't sign him, and eventually Williams did, and that's how he got his Formula 2 seat, and so moved into their ranks. But... you know, he's under pressure, and those being so far off Albon, more than 7/10 per race in qualifying, combine the fact that Albon's now scored all of Williams's points, I think 15 now this season, and Logan still hasn't found that good result. I mean, there's been flashes of greatness. That start in Bahrain was awesome. There've been some good qualifying performances.
He's been better than Latifi, but that is a low bar, ultimately.
That bar is like, I think, buried 6 feet.
Yeah.
A mutual friend of ours, JB, I think he coined him the American Latifi.
Yeah, you know what? He was saying it when I was and you know what? I think there have been those odd moments, like again, Saudi qualifying where he did go quicker than Alex and got the lead.
He actually crashed at the end of Saudi qualifying as well, which people, out of frustration, people actually forget. Yes, he had a lap deleted, but then out of frustration, I think his last run, clipped the wall because he just went on the throttle too much. So he's had a rough start. I mean, a lot of people have been critical. Actually, because I made a video kind of talking about his future and where he is. A lot of people were super critical, you know, in the comments of saying like, have we reached the point where we're not even giving rookies a chance anymore? But it's just because how competitive Formula One is, you know. That's simply as simply as it is, because the rookies have been so good the past few years, and that's the bar. You know, the likes of Piastri and Leclerc, they've raised the bar so much. I was
about to say, we've been so spoiled, I think, with rookies recently. The quality of F1 drivers is the best that it's ever been. I think the quality of rookies is probably the best it's ever been. I mean, I remember like when I first started watching Formula One, this was like ages ago, with like the early noughties and shit, you got people going from like Formula 3 like straight into F1 because the guys in the actual junior category weren't even that good. And like Kimi Räikkönen,
that's funny because that's exactly what Max did.
Yeah,
well, Max.
But he was the exception to the rule.
He is the one exception.
He blew everybody away there. And on that, I mean, you're right. And I also think that not only that we talked about a bit earlier, but the stakes being much higher in Formula One means that they can't afford it. But also, all the teams are much closer now. There's not a clear hierarchy where you can't bleed a driver in. Say back in 2016, you had the back markers of Manor, Marussia and Sauber.
Yeah, they're in their championship.
Exactly, they're in their own championship. So if you score 1 point, that's a win for you. Yeah. So now, in 2016, we had 22 drivers. Now there's just 20. There's not that opportunity to bleed in rookies. So for the teams, where they're under so much financial pressure in a cost cap era as well, they can't be affording new parts. I mean, you see Gunther Steiner is obviously very clear about that. after Haas destroyed 2 of their 3 new front wings this weekend.
There's a big part of like Schumacher got dropped for a reason. You know, he had all this, you know, and obviously the name carries a lot of merit in the sport, and that wasn't enough to keep him in that seat. And I think, you know, obviously, yes, the standards of like certain rookies have been really high. I think Yuki, maybe the Honda connection saved him. Yeah. Because that was still when Honda and Red Bull thought they were going, well, at least Red Bull thought they were going the long term with Honda. Yeah. You know, if that's happening this year and Yuki's a rookie this year, then I think he's probably losing that seat.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, today's show is sponsored by the beautiful people over at NordVPN. Massive shout out to them. Ooh. Do you want to tell the people what they do?
The virtual private network.
Yeah.
Niran, isn't it?
I heard the very same.
Listen, when you're away, all right, I went to a few Grand Prix, you know, I went Hungary dinner.
Indeed.
Last month, and VPN came in clutch.
Yeah.
Because region locked content, right? If you want to watch your Netflix, even like YouTube, a lot of stuff, region locked. With
Twitter as well. Like if I want to see the football highlights, but you know what I mean?
All the time.
They're always like American, region locked.
There's certain channels, you go on and it'll be like one of the I think one of the Middle Eastern networks that post a lot of highlights.
Indeed.
Like, I want to see this banging goal. Stick your region lock on, put yourself in Bahrain, bosh, job done.
Bosh, exactly. You can even stay safe from malware with NordVPN's threat protection.
Never stop with the fastest VPN on the planet.
The fastest.
The F1 of VPNs.
Yes, the Red Bull, if you will.
The RB VPN.
Oh, that's good. That's good from you.
And we do have an exclusive discount just for you with us here at The Last Lap on a NordVPN plan. All right, we'll sort you out. NordVPN.com/TOL.
The Last Lap. It all makes sense.
That's a great little acronym.
Yeah.
And you will also receive 4 months extra for free, and there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee.
Oh, beautiful.
Mate, what a touch. What a touch. You can't tell me we don't give back to the people.
That is sensational. And you can find that link down in the description box for this video.
NordVPN.com/TOL. Get it done.
For sure.
I think I would want to give Logan a bit more of a chance because I think at the end of the day, he's in the Williams, which is like...
What's the alternatives as well? I mean, apart from Palou, who is not by no means, a certainty as well.
Vesti, maybe. I mean, he's a Mercedes junior, but then do Williams want to move away from being just a Mercedes B team? But he's second currently in the Formula 2.
But who's the rookie? Alex is showing there is performance in this car. And Alex I think he's a great Formula 1 driver. You know, he's not a Verstappen, he's not a Hamilton, he's not a Leclerc. He's very good, right? But what do Williams need? Like Williams are in the growth. They need the best drivers in their car. This is kind of what they've moved away. They got burnt badly by having 2 rookies. Now they've got Hulkenberg in doing bits. Magnussen's been a bit
surprised he got a new contract.
Yeah, he's not been great, but he knows that team really well.
And let's not forget the quality that he was showing last year. Like,
that pole position.
Exactly. You don't just, he's been at that team 7 years or something like that. Obviously with a break in the middle, but you don't just ditch someone because they've had a bad 6 months. Like, he's still a quality driver. So, if he continues this next year, different conversation. But I remember telling you, like, Alex Albon is a really, really good driver. He is not someone that you should be like whitewashed by. You should be at least 2 or 3 qualifying sessions at least, just 2 or 3 quality sessions. Like Piastri, I mean, Norris has actually been dominant in terms of like the stats compared to Piastri, but there's still been 1 or 2 kind of quality sessions in races.
Like 2/10, so
exactly. So it's just, but again, when it comes to like the Vesti argument, why would Williams ditch a rookie right now for another rookie to restart the project? Keep in mind that Logan Sargent is their young driver. He's a Williams Academy driver, so there's no Mercedes pulling the strings or anything like that. And I do think that they have a bit of pride in that, the fact that he is their own homegrown talent. And ultimately, I do think that there's not really any other options that stick out. If there was a Piastri, right now in Formula 2, different story.
Yeah.
If there was an experienced driver that was kind of like really wanting to get into that team. Mick Schumacher, yes, but he's by no means a certainty. So that's why I think he is going to be there, because I think they're going to give him another season because there isn't that many great alternatives.
These teams aren't obliged. I'm sorry, I don't think in this day and age they're not obliged to give young drivers an opportunity. Like they're obliged to do what's best by their team to maximise points and maximise the performances. And if there is a Charles Leclerc who's insane in F2 and Oscar Piastri and Felipe Drogovic maybe deserved a chance, but it was his 3rd season in F2. So again, there's more question marks. When someone comes in and wins it straight away, like a Piastri, like a Leclerc, you look at Verstappen's performance, there's a reason they gave him a seat, because they thought they might lose him to Mercedes. speed is. So I think there's, again, I just think who's the best driver for Williams? Is Sargent the best driver for Williams of the available drivers? No. I think we've not seen enough in the first half of a season, I think, for them to feel obliged to keep Sargent. And I want young drivers to get a shot, but also like if Logan's getting a shot, well, what about Ilott, who's had to move over to Indy, and Marcus Armstrong and
Robert Schwartzman as well,
Lundgaard, and what's Schwartzman not getting a seat? Like Schwartzman's junior career is every bit as good as Lawson.
Schwartzman, he finished ahead of Zhou Guanyu in the 2021 F2 season as
well. Sure. Yeah. Where's Schwartzman's seat? I think Schwartzman's amazing.
He was consistently he never won obviously the Formula 2 championship, but he was just consistently always up there. Formula 3 champion,
wasn't he?
Exactly, he was always there. So yeah, there's a lot of drivers who I think obviously missed out, just because of timing. I mean, I think 2020 is the big kind of sliding doors moment where originally it was supposed to be Callum Ilott in the Haas for 2021 and Mick Schumacher in the Alfa Romeo. Obviously then because of the way finances were at Haas, they had to also, they had to take Mick Schumacher and Mazepin. So there was a massive kind of, sliding doors moment there. But yeah, some people just miss out because of timing.
Because James, how good of how impressed have you been by, again, like Armstrong, Lundgaard, Ilott? These are all drivers who were in F2 and aiming for Formula 1 and have decided to go stateside because they've not seen an opportunity to get a seat.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a really good question because you look at how they sort of line up and what we're comparing them to, because it's if you compare them to each other, then as like they did in their junior career, then they're doing a really good job. And actually, if you compare them to the rookies that have come up through Indy Next, which is the road to Indy, it's the equivalent of Formula 3 and Formula 2, but in America, they're doing a very, very solid job. I mean, you compare, Callum Ilott got on the front row at the finale of last season in probably at the time the worst car, and I know they're much more similar in a spec series, but it goes to show just the talent of driver that's being missed out on.
Lundgaard won recently, didn't he?
Yeah, Lundgaard won in Toronto. He's the most recent maiden winner, and you compare him maybe to someone like Kyle Kirkwood, who the star of the road to Indy over the last few years. And I mean, in Will Buxton's 2025 lineup predictions, he had him in the Haas, but those were made 18 months ago. And I mean, something like that. Yeah. Those were some wild predictions.
They were pure Buxton vibes.
If you look at something like
in the car, sorry.
They're both doing very reasonable jobs, and it just goes to show that the talent pool at the moment is so incredibly high, just over the course of two series. And I've been so impressed by Callum Ilott. I mean, he speaks so well. He's ninth in the oval standings, which it just shows to show how quickly you can take on something. Yeah. Because Indy drivers that have come from Europe have never raced on an oval before, and suddenly they're thrown in. They've got 5 to do in a season, so it's a hugely tough test for them. And yeah, I've been incredibly impressed. And then on the flip side of that was someone like Alex Palou, who's dominating probably the most competitive series in the world with 27 full-time entries, to be the star of in the middle of the season 5 weekends where you go from winning the Indy Road Course race, pole position, the fastest speed ever at the Indy 500, 28th to 4th in the Indy 500, having been punted into the pit wall in just 97 laps, which was incredible. The fact that he nearly finished on the podium, there's no podium at Indianapolis,
in the Williams,
was insane. And then to back that up with winning at Detroit and then winning at Road America and then winning at Mid-Ohio, it's just like this guy is a freak. And although his junior career doesn't show that,
I was actually about to say that because I remember him being in I think it was still called GP3 at the time. And he was just kind of like middle of the road.
I think it was like 9th or something.
Yeah, I mean, he was good, but without being great. And it's just that thing that maybe some people get better as the cars get quicker. Yeah. But if he went to Formula 1, he wouldn't be like any other rookie. I think that he's a well-seasoned driver.
It would be the Nick De Vries kind of expectations of
but also I'm not being funny, right? De Vries, it's easy to look back on De Vries' titles with skepticism. He was very fortunate
to win in
2020. He F2, Latifi came second. I'm not being funny. It wasn't the best caliber F2 season. You look at Palou, where he's so consistently. It was his second season when he won his first title in IndyCar, and he was 5th last year, and now he's going to win this one, at a canter as well. There's levels, and I think Palou's shown, again, not the best junior. I mean, look at when you compare Sargent and Piastri's like very early single-seater career. Sargent's is more impressive.
Yeah.
And then Piastri goes on and wins these 4 titles back to back. So it's like, I think, again, different drivers develop at different rates. And I'm really, especially for Eilert as well, because I think Eilert was super unlucky to not get an opportunity. I mean, he was being touted for Sauber being like a Ferrari junior. But then also we have to talk a bit about Zhou Guanyu, because unfortunately it does sound that, and there's been rumours from the paddock that his seat is at risk. Doesn't seem to have the backing, unfortunately, even though, like, for me, he's been, given how young he is relative to Valtteri, how early on this is his second year in Formula One. It would be a shame to see him go.